Today is Wednesday, August 29th, 2018. This is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I'm Goz, that's Dan, that's John, that's Danny. Happy birthday, Danny.
Thank you, that's me.
Happy birthday, Danny.
Thank you.
Might be too late for you, John.
Oh, happy birthday, Danny.
John didn't remember.
Who's Danny?
Wow. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna come back to New York to cover something at Madison Square Garden, and I'm gonna just be at the event for some weird reason again. And you're not gonna recognize me again.
How many birthdays do you guys know by heart?
Mine, my son's, my wife's, my parents. No, I kind of double check my parents. I'd probably say mine, my son, and my wife's.
Yeah, mine's under 10 for sure. How about phone numbers? I know George's, our house phone in Paris, and Glenn Lerner. That's it.
Glenn Lerner is the place to go.
What about 1-800 Cars for Kids? You got that one? Not many. I mean, I still remember. I still remember my mom's because like she still has the same number from when I was a little kid. You know.
I remember our old house number, but that is
I remember old house numbers more than I remember functioning numbers.
Yeah, nobody really uses phone numbers anymore, right? Like it's just dialed in.
Just your phone, right?
Just click on somebody's name now. Yeah.
So like if you were being
Coming
chased
up in a minute.
and all there was like the rotary phone, you'd be fucked.
Well, since none of y'all have kids, that is one thing that we've had to like. You have to educate your child to like learn your phone numbers, like learn your mom's, like, so they know how to reach because they don't have a cell phone with everything plugged in.
This may sound like borderline child abuse, but I remember my parents leaving for the grocery store one day and saying, "You stay in the garage while we go," and they gave me a paper with my address and phone number, and I memorized. I paced back and forth in the garage, and I had to have it memorized by the time they get back. I think I was allowed to leave the garage, but that's besides the point.
What?
That's what happened to you. Now you know what happened. This is a breakthrough, Dan Tom.
This is explaining a lot, Dan Tom.
Confused.
So what they said we're gonna go to
Just
the store, and then they said, you know what? I got something.
Stay in the
2604 Elko Circle.
And then they said, hey,
896-5671.
Wow.
Jesus.
When I was a kid,
survival
the
skills,
first time
baby.
I stayed alone, George would
by.
call the house, and he would do the Michael Myers breathing. So you just go.
Oh, I could see George doing that to you.
Me out.
I could see George doing that to you.
Not very kind of him at all.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goz. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goz.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goz, our ace co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, producing, as always, Danny Otto. And to my right, John Morgan, stepping in like he has been as of late. Good to have the White Shadow. What's up, guys?
I'm good, man. I had my first employee parking experience today.
How was it?
Which, thank you to that, guys. Obviously, the MMAjunkie budget appreciates not paying for parking anymore. Of course, we don't get free parking here in Las Vegas the way we used to. But you guys were able to get me an employee pass, which was fantastic, except I do realize now I need to build in a few extra minutes to my transition day because
you have to go to like the 5th or 6th floor or something?
Yeah, there just weren't many spots available, you know what I'm saying? So normally I can roll up in level 2, You know, find me a spot close to the stairs. I'm down. I'm in here in like 5 minutes. But when I leave, I'm paying $12. Now I'm not paying, but I got to realize, a little further away, a few less spots to choose from.
You got to get your small talk going, right? Because you got to get in that elevator with 5 or 6 other people.
All just loving life because they're here at Mandalay Bay and they're having the best job ever.
Mandalay Bay, what number are we convention-wise, George? We're like the number 2, right?
Yeah, okay. Number 1 is the Las Vegas Convention Center.
So our traffic depends heavily on that. And so if you'll be able to tell, like, this whole week will probably be like that. But then you'll go through 2 or 3 weeks where it's just back to normal.
So smaller conventions, not as much staff needed, that sort of thing. So yeah, so it was good, man. Obviously, I appreciate that, but it was a change. You know, when you get change, it kind of throws your routine off a little bit.
And that was before they expanded, by the way. So I don't know. I'd like to ask Steve Walker maybe and see if we maybe close the gap on Las Vegas. But if anybody's seen the Las Vegas Convention Center, it's massive. The UFC Fan Expo has been there. It's been here at Mandalay Bay.
We're allowed to talk about that thing that they're going to put in, right? That ends at Husson's.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're the monorail. It's going to go from the airport all the way around.
Oh, they're finally doing that?
Yeah, it's going to end right at Husson's up here at Mandalay Bay.
There you
can land at the airport, walk out with your bags, and walk straight in.
That's always been the stupidest thing about the monorails. It didn't go to the airport.
Well, but here's the thing that I heard yesterday was now it's going to go even a little bit further to the stadium.
Airport to the stadium. Oh, wow.
No, monorail to the stadium.
So the monorail.
Well, yeah.
That does make sense.
That would be cool.
That does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant. Monorail to the stadium, but from the airport to the stadium. So one could fly in and almost go to the game and pre-party there or pre-party here, and fly back that same day.
That's awesome.
You and I did that for Washington versus the 49ers, right? Didn't we do the same day once?
Yeah, we flew in, we went straight to the game,
rode the BART,
got back, and flew right back out.
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, that expansion is officially called the Lyle Lanley Monorail Expansion.
I did not know that.
Is that the guy that?
That's the guy from The Simpsons. Yeah.
He's
just peddling these guys for money.
The board that he has in the back is so funny.
He's got a briefcase with money falling out of it, and then I think he's got Springfield and a few people there, and it says suckers with some arrows, right?
The best part is at least Lisa trying to call him out. He's just peddling money for easy answers, and the guy running out. And how?
What was his name again?
Lyle Lanley. Lyle Lanley's the name.
That's a great pull, man. It's like an early 90s pull. All right, guys, let's talk about McGregor and Mayweather. I had a feeling, even though McGregor Nurmagomedov is it's going to be the main event at UFC 229, at some point in time, Mayweather's name would get injected in there. And sure enough, old Floyd, trying to patch things up with his homie, Conor McGregor, offered his gym, the Mayweather Boxing Club, here in Las Vegas, to house Conor McGregor. You know, I'm sure he'll come over like he usually does. Unless, John, you can tell me he's already in town, no?
No, not yet.
When he'll come over, to adapt to the climate and all that. That he could, get his workouts done there. Now, for the Mayweather fight, he got him down in the UFC PI. That's where I probably expected him to do what he does. He's a late-night guy anyway, so I don't know that any of the gyms are really convenient for him. I think he's done a home gym before or something like that out in Henderson. But Mayweather had another idea, which was to bring him there. Conor replied hours later. Fook the Mayweathers was his reply, with the exception of Senior and Roger.
75% of them. How many does he think there are?
I don't know. But, that was kind of it. But it's funny how when stuff like that happens, my friends who are casual fans of the sport want to talk that and not Woodley Till or some of these other awesome matchups that I look forward to. In addition to Conor versus Khabib, it's just that now's not the time for me to worry as much.
Well, first of all, what did Jeff Mayweather do to him? Why'd he get thrown under the bus?
He's the nicest one out of all of them.
Yeah, he is.
No, you know what, man? I thought it was a weird shot. I mean, listen, Conor, just like Floyd, is a master of keeping their names in the headlines, even when they're not really in the headlines. You know what I mean? That's what made them able to put on, a fight that generated as many hundreds of millions of dollars as it did. But it just seemed weird to me, man. Like, what are we building towards here? You know what I mean? And my understanding is, by the way, that Conor is going to come work out at the PI. That's where he's going to do his camp again, but that he's not in town yet. But I don't know. It just seems so unnecessary to me. And I get it. It's automatically it's a top traffic post on MMA Junkie because everybody cares about it. But can I just be honest and say I don't care? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, who cares where he trains, honestly? I mean, one guy said something, the other guy told him to F off, and that's that. But wow, did it resonate with the casual fan?
I mean, I guess if
just another reminder that's the legion of fans that does move the sport a couple times.
Oh, 100%. I just don't understand what the benefit was there. You know what I mean? Like, step up or step down. That's the part I guess I didn't understand. Does that mean like, is he challenging like, hey, you got to come in the cage now? I mean, we know that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. Junior Dos Santos, by the way, was not the guy that was knocking people out left and right in Brazil.
But the UFC should look at signing that guy.
Yeah. He does have some skills.
Whoever he was.
He barely got bumped into. Did you guys see that on the front page of MMA Junkie? It's still up at the top. And if you look at it, there's, it's a club. People are dancing. It wasn't like anybody was really, really throwing elbows. It wasn't a mosh pit or nothing like that. Somebody casually bumped into a fella that looked similar to Junior Dos Santos. I wouldn't say he was an identical twin, but okay. And all of a sudden, this guy just starts leveling people. Took like 4 guys out.
I would think of all the heavyweights on the roster, Junior's kind of got like a unique look to him that you don't really confuse him with very many people, right? Like there's people that look like Stipe.
It was just because there was like a receding hairline,
right?
That was pretty much it.
Like what kind of research was done?
And solid boxing.
Have you guys seen his Cigano days when he had the long hair?
Yeah.
That is hilarious, man. 2 different dudes right there. But yeah, just to clear that up, because Junior's a good guy, and I think he's been through a lot with the whole USADA thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was clicking yesterday too, I noticed.
Yeah, his manager obviously came out and said, hey, by the way, and I think they got it taken down off YouTube, or at least like relabeled.
I like Anna, man. Anna don't play.
She don't play.
She's a manager / attorney, so she knows the ins and outs, and she fights for her clients.
She does, and she goes right after it. Cuts no corner. She goes, addresses it straight on. So that was nice. And I saw a social media post that Junior posted yesterday. It was like a lie travels halfway around the world before the truth, or while the truth is putting its shoes on. It's like, it's true. Stuff spreads like wildfire, man. So
yeah.
By the way, speaking of fighters, early pictures of fighters with hair who are normally bald are some of the greatest things. Let's remember to ask Martin Kampman next time he comes on the show, because for a while, probably about 10 years ago, when I first started going to Extreme Couture, there was this running prank with the fighters where they were just taunting Martin Kampman. There was a picture of him back in back in Europe. He has a bow cut and he's standing in a river, and they just kept putting it on his locker, and like you would see him come up, oh come on guys, who's doing this, and then they would like add words to it, like get off the tracks when the train's coming through, and it was great, and it was just this running prank. So when we get old school Extreme Couture guys, we had to ask them about that. It was a running go they would have.
You guys still have access to that? I'd like to see that one.
I don't know if anybody ever got it on video, but it was just one of those running pranks where they were just Huron and Pyle, and they were just taunting Kampman with this old picture, and they keep pasting it on the lockers. I think it was still when Extreme Couture was on one side, put it that way. This is how long ago it was. It was only one side of the building.
Do you know the story behind, I think Eryk had posted this on Instagram the other day, and it was Jay Huron chasing somebody around. It looked like maybe an amateur that went a little too hard, and then he took off, and Jay's running after him.
Is it from a long time ago, though? Was it from a while ago?
Yeah, it looked like it was a really, really long time ago.
It sounds familiar, but I definitely wasn't there. I would have remembered something like that.
By the way, I Googled Martin Kampman with hair and got the images, and the first one was Johnny Hendricks for some reason. Why is the first result of Martin Kampman with hair a picture of Johnny Hendricks?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've noticed that too when trying to find images of guys. Like, I always find it comical who they associate the guy with. Like, the wrong images are always comical in their own way.
Also clicking on the front page is an interview yesterday. Well, a scrum is what it was, with Darren Till, who's finishing up his camp here in Las Vegas. John and Kenny, or just John?
Yeah, no, Kenny was shooting.
Yeah, you guys were out there at the UFC PI. I was listening to it this morning.
Yeah.
It was about 17 minutes of information. I think the meat and potatoes is just how aggravated, how angry he is at the weight cut. But what I was about to say was, even with Conor and Khabib, I mean, I guess we knew something was going down, but these announcements we're only 2 months away. As a fan, I love it because those countdowns kill me. Back when Stipe and Cormier got made, I mean, we had 6 months to wait, a whole reality show, and then we got to that fight that was awesome. These last couple have been quick with those two, from announcement to fight. Woodley and Till as well. Can you imagine if Till had to wait till October? Holy cow. He's just on edge, but he carefully explains what he's missing, white rice and a burger from McDonald's, I think he said, was something else, and he really is making sure that there's not one cheat meal he can point back to and go, wow, that's why I am not fighting for a world title. And then one other thing he said, and then I'll let John chime in, is I had heard through Woodley, I had heard Woodley do an interview where he will not fight Kamaru Usman, who I guess is set up as a backup, and I want John to chime in on that. How much of a backup is this? Is this just something that Usman is doing on his own, or is the UFC signed off on it? And so I want to tie that into Woodley has already stated, I'm not fighting Usman, and he's pretty concrete about it. He says, I'll take Till at a higher weight, let's say. Oh, yeah, I don't believe in that anymore. Let's say he comes in 3 pounds heavier or something. He says, I'm fighting Till. It sucks because it wouldn't be a title defense. And if you ever get a chance to look at the UFC stats, it's pretty cool to see how champions separate themselves from each other according to title defenses. He'll join Shamrock, Miletich, and a few others with title defenses and separate himself from a guy like Edgar, the guys that are sitting at 3. So that would suck. There's no way around it. That would suck. But he says he won't do it. It's a different clash of styles. He says, I basically, along the lines of, I'm a chess master. I'm a game planner. But Till went out of his way to say, I'd fight him. I'll fight anyone, And while that was refreshing to me, I'm not shitting on Woodley because I understand how much it means to be champ and how it's big business. Thanks, Dan. Good looking out. You may hear some noise, folks. We're finishing up some construction here. But anyway, John, I know I said a lot, but chime in, please.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Woodley because I echo your sentiments there, man. I kind of respect Woodley for saying, listen, I'll just take the guy even if he misses weight. I mean, it is true. It's not like, if you were fighting, Till or Till's twin brother who has the exact same fighting style but happens to be 10 pounds less. You know what I mean? Like, I would get that if it was like, well, Till's not ready, but Wonder Boy's here. Will you fight him? Okay, it's similar. All right. But, you're talking about two entirely different fighters. And, Tyron has been open and honest about how much difference, the income level is between champion and non-champion. So I get that. But, yeah, as far as Darren Till, it was interesting, man. So we get there yesterday. And we went to the media room inside the Performance Institute, and it was the curtains were pulled because he was actually sparring, and so he didn't want us to see his sparring. And so so once that was done, then we went in there and he did a workout for us, and it was obvious that he was tired. I mean, that he was worn down. I mean, and it was obvious that he was angry. Man, it just didn't look to be in good spirits, And I was like, is this a bad sign? You know what I mean? Like I've been around Till on fight weeks. I've never been with him after a sparring session or after a training session, but he just looked miserable. And then he sat down with us, and right before Kenny turned on the camera, I actually joked, I'm like, now that we didn't get to see, I was like, were you sparring or was that a spa that you were doing back there? And he was like, mate, I was sparring, tried to get him, like, loosen him up a little bit, and then we started talking about everything, and then, finally he did say something about, I'm miserable, and I was like, dude, I'm just asking, reading your body language, you look awful in there. I'm like, is this abnormal for you? Is this? He's like, no, this is the way I am. It sucks. The weight cut sucks, and I hate it. And he's like, add to it now. He's like, I love being in Las Vegas. He said one of the biggest things he really liked about being in Las Vegas was the recovery that the Performance Institute offers, which is definitely a lot better than most facilities in the world. To have the cold pool, the heat pool, to have the massage therapist there, to have the rehabilitation options there, even small little tweaks during camp. And he said, listen, I love it. The bad thing is, I'm with my team like 24/7, and normally I could go to the gym, put in my hours, and then get out and unplug, you know what I mean, and just get. Now I'm stuck with these jackasses all day long.
That makes sense, right?
Right. So he said, "Listen, don't worry about it," and he said straight, "He's listen, I will make this weight." So the quote is good, and it is true. It's eye catching. Hey, how's the weight? And he's like, the weight is shit. You know what I mean? That was his exact word. It's like, oh, but he goes on to explain. But listen, I'm going to be there. But he did say, listen, I'm not long for 170. I'm going to middleweight. He said, I want to win this title. I set off on a mission to win this title, and I want to win this title, and I want to defend it once to prove that I defended it. He's like, but after that, I'm going to middleweight. So we've been talking about it lately. I think more and more fighters are really starting to embrace it, and I think it's worth going and checking out the whole piece. So the whole interview's up there on MMA Junkie. He says, look, it's not worth doing this to my body, And again, I go back to last week in Lincoln, man. James Krause talking about it. Anthony Smith talking about it. How moving up in weight, not only did it just help them physically feel better, but it helped them mentally feel better as well, both during the fight and outside of the fight. James Krause talked a lot about quality of life.
And fight week.
Yeah, James Krause talked a lot about how his quality of life is just so much different now.
And now, Krause, you can call him and go, yo, so-and-so fell out in 2 weeks. Can you make it? Yep. And his concern won't be the weight. It's just, well, did me and the wife plan something, or do the kids got something coming up? Anything in the personal life that would stop him from doing it. Whereas other fighters would say, I can't even physically get there, so I'll have to decline. Masvidal used to tell us the same thing. I need about a month just to get within the striking range of, okay, now let's start the camp.
Yeah.
And I can do what I need to do at 155. But otherwise, at 70, give me a holler. I'm ready whenever.
I love it. And even Krause said he looked at Masvidal as a great example.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like the culture is slowly shifting. Slowly shifting. I think continued education, continued guys, not doing it and having success, guys like Robert Whittaker, I think people will see that, hey, man, maybe it's not worth, quote, unquote, you're killing yourself.
Till would love 75, wouldn't he?
Oh, I would.
Yeah.
I
Talk
think
about
that,
65 and 75. There's a 75er for you.
That quality of life that you're talking about, that James Krause is talking about, that's huge. Think about how much better you're at your job because you enjoy it, right? You have to enjoy it.
Even 75 for Till may not solve it though. What was the quote coming out of the Cerrone fight was, I'm a light heavyweight gorilla fighting at welterweight. And I always love referencing, I think I was referencing the other day, UFC Fight Night 13, Anthony Johnson, and knocking out Tommy Spear. And I'm like, how did that guy ever make welterweight? Yeah. Are we looking at the next Anthony Johnson here, guys? Could we see Till at a higher? Because they're the same height, by the way.
I think he's going to make it.
I think middleweight will be it. But yeah, moving up in weight, he was clear to say, I'm glad Romero's moving up too, because that's a beast. So I don't know if light heavyweight would be his eventual stop, but I think for sure middleweight, if he loses to Woodley. If he stays, I could see him as a champion wanting to defend until the body can just give no more. But
I don't think he'll be small at middleweight.
No, neither do I.
I don't think he'll be a small
Whittaker,
middleweight.
the champion, he'll be bigger than Whittaker.
Yeah, no question about
it. Quick pop quiz, if you don't mind. The UFC has had a fight at 175 pounds before. Can anybody name it?
Yep.
Okay.
You were there, right?
I guess you said yes first, to be fair.
Hoist Gracie and Matt Hughes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He called for that. Hoist Gracie was the one. Matt Hughes was like, thank you, because the last 5 pounds
fight
sucked.
Physically?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He mauled him. But Hoist said, no, I walk around at 175. That's where I'm fighting. He didn't even want to lose the 5. And Matt Hughes just mopped him up. And that was the last time I saw Ryan Bennett. I saw him at the arena, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came up and he goes, what do you think? And I think something on the undercard had just happened, like Wyman and Fisher, or I forget, one of those, or maybe Swick had gotten a Swickatine or something.
I think we saw him as we were leaving.
Did we?
Okay. We saw him one more time.
We saw Sakuraba too. We got this close to just, we were fans then, to just getting a quick pick, because this is a guy we saw late night, in Japan, and he hates to travel, so we knew that might not be an opportunity that comes around too often. And towards the end, the translator or whoever was with him said, oh, no, and like
we were next.
We were 2 people away. Paris Hilton shoved me out of the way. Of course, I played it up like a soccer player and flailed my arms,
See, too bad
I wasn't looking for like a lawsuit or nothing, but I
saw the video.
Do you really?
I have it somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah.
She walks right. I'm filming the cage, and she just walks right in between, shoves George, and walks right past.
Literally shoved you?
Yeah,
pretty much. Like the Heisman.
I want to see that video, but if you guys had a pack of cigarettes, in hindsight, you probably would have cut the line. Sakuraba, I'm like, those guys, give me one. He's like, I need to smoke.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who's the boxer?
Paul Walker. I saw Paul Walker that night too.
Nicaragua. He would smoke.
Alexis Arguello.
No.
Oh no, not in between. Oh,
Nicaragua.
Paez.
No,
the guy that hit Dean.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I forget his name.
Noriega?
He would smoke in between rounds. Like that's
Noriega. Jesus.
What was his name?
Christ.
What's that name?
Well, it'll hit us.
Carter Mayorga.
Yeah.
I don't know about in between.
There's videos of old fights.
Oh,
he would
old
actually
fights.
smoke in between. Somebody would put it in his mouth because he had the glove.
Yeah.
He would do it in between rounds.
Old school.
That little tap he puts on Dean. I know Dean was going to wave it off and say, yeah, no biggie. Maybe when he gets older, he'll admit it. But did you see him? He lost his footing, and it was just a little clip right there on the chin when they were, I believe, doing a stare down at a press conference.
Yeah.
I get asked stuff like that. Even Kevin Lee wasn't too familiar that Tito Ortiz had broadcasted from Affliction. So Kevin's like, I was just younger then. I wasn't really into the sport. So every once in a while, I guess, let's talk about stuff like that. Where no MMA history has been in effect on the site. In fact, Affliction was maybe John's first travel show in Anaheim.
It might have been.
Might have been.
Yeah, I think that was your first travel show. So
Elite XC stuff. Elite XC stuff. Did that predate Affliction?
I think it was 2008ish when I think of Elite XC.
I feel like it was running.
Sure.
I feel like it was running right into each other, right? Because like that Diaz Nunes kind of debacle and all that stuff kind of started, and then it feels like not a year later we've got.
Yeah, I feel like an Elite XC show with Dan. Pour one out for the homie. was the first one. I think up in New Jersey or something or somewhere.
Ask Dan what his first one was.
Oh yeah, the Playboy.
Yeah,
The Playboy Mansion.
That's a good one I have on the resume there.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting, guys.
But no, I'm glad you brought that up for the history purpose because I was just thinking I was looking over topic banks. I'm trying to figure out a top 5 for my podcast this week, and one of the many ideas that listeners will contribute. One of them was like top 5 fights that should have happened, and that's kind of a hipster pool. You could do the Herb Dean and Mayorga. You know, the boxing versus MMA. One of the boxing versus MMA minis that could have happened. But yeah,
it's true. It doesn't get counted, right?
You don't really think about that, but that's a topic you could fit in.
Yeah.
Royce Gracie and Mark Kerr. Remember, wasn't that supposed to happen? They had that big press conference.
That's an old school pool. That's deep. Yeah.
Maybe that's top 5. Thank God it didn't happen.
Maybe too.
What do you think of Till saying, "I would fight Usman if I were the champ and Woodley the challenger didn't make weight"? Whether it's true or not, I think just saying it carries weight. But I also believe Till. I believe he would do it.
I think it's just a different mindset, and I don't think one is right over the other. I do believe
Till
Till.
and reckless.
I believe Till is one of those guys like I will fight anybody. I mean, you remember after Liverpool, he's like, "Don't give me a title shot." He's like, he always said, "I'm gonna fight everybody and I'm gonna beat everybody." I think Tyron is more of a businessman and saying, "Hey, man, I'm in the spot. I'm I'm not going to be that guy that I'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. That ain't me. You know what I mean? That's not what we're doing here. This is prize fighting, and I'm going to take the smart way around it." So I think it's two totally different mindsets, and I believe both of them are earnest in what they say. They just come from different points of view.
Does the UFC share Woodley's line of thinking in that let's say Till didn't make it and he doesn't want to fight Usman, could they make him and Usman, or is Covington back in the mix? Because he only gets stripped the minute the first punch is thrown. Well, actually, what he means is the minute they say fight, then that fight has commenced, and that's when Covington gets technically stripped. Because Woodley was also wondering, hey, I thought you guys were going to strip him. He doesn't get stripped until your fight starts. So, could the UFC step in and go, well, I mean, the tickets are sold, the pay-per-views are done. Do they just preserve it and run it in New York with Usman or Colby? Or do they actually make that fight happen? And then what happens? What if, again, not to be Mr. Jinx guy, which I'm trying to get away from, Woodley gets hurt in the process of defending a non-title fight? I'm not trying to screw Dallas or anyone that pays for that ticket or orders that pay-per-view, but you know how the UFC can think sometimes.
There's going to be some scrambling. There's going to be some meeting going on if Till doesn't make weight. I mean, I think you still do the fight, right? I mean, if Woodley's saying, "I'll fight you, Darren Till," you still do the fight. You can't take that fight away. No disrespect to Montano and Shevchenko, but I think the folks there in Dallas will be upset. And don't forget, you do get to I'm pretty sure Texas has the same rule where you can get your money back if the main event changes. But either way, I mean, if nothing else, you're going to create bad, customer relationships, I guess, for your fans. I think if Woodley said, if Till comes in at 176 and Woodley says, "I'll still fight him," I think you do that fight. You're right. You risk the chance of him getting hurt, but I think you still do the fight, and I think you leave Colby as the interim title holder so that he could do something else if he wants to.
Contract-wise, does he have to do the fight? Because I would have to imagine one of those people that you would not want to do that last-second negotiation with.
Tyron Woodley.
That would be a nightmare, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, that's Kamaru Usman.
Nice.
All right, let's take a break because we got to talk to your boy Eryk Anders, who got a win at UFC Lincoln, aka UFC Fight Night 135. Then we'll come back and we'll do a run of calls, 866-522-2846. We'll finish up the show with Mike Kyle, who fights at PFL 7 tomorrow night. Should be an all weighed in and partially rehydrated Mike Kyle, so should be fun. We'll be right back. the 2 bonuses. Now he's going to get paid up
He's
front.
never going to
King Kong has a lot of shit on them. Like a lot. Especially Goes. Here, Gorgeous George and Goes.
Football is back, and SiriusXM has it covered from every angle. As the NFL preseason wraps up and college football's chase for the #1 begins with the big weekend of marquee matchups. Join us tomorrow for Kickoff 2018, SiriusXM Sports Channel, all day looking ahead to the biggest stories and getting you ready for all the excitement. Kickoff 2018 tomorrow and all weekend on SiriusXM Sports. Man, you know Alabama ain't going to win it this year. they've been getting lucky. This is all about USC, baby. Goes, who's next?
Eryk Anders.
Oh, Eryk Anders. Oh, your boy's up next. All right, let's bring him on. A winner at UFC Lincoln this past Saturday. What's up, Eryk? How you doing?
I think that's why Dan closed the door, so you don't get murdered.
Doing awesome yourself.
Doing great. You didn't happen to hear anything I just said in my previous read, right?
Man, some things are so outrageous and not worth responding to. I think
Hey, Eryk, I saw that it was like a documentary on yourself. We'll get to the fight in just a second, but one thing that stood out to me was there was one thing you said in it about you being a hard worker, which went from college football, high school football to college football to eventual, you being an MMA athlete, and that was that you made it a goal to never miss the weightlifting, in your freshman year, because you wanted to make you wanted to show everybody that you were going to be the hardest worker and also impress the coaches. And I remember hearing that from a lot of scouts in the NFL that I've seen get interviewed. They want to hear that type of story. That that's when you know that if somebody could be special or not, if they're so enamored with what they do in their preparation that they'll make every single weight session. I've heard that a lot in football, so that was very cool to see you were one of those cats.
Well, yeah, I've never been, the biggest, strongest, fastest, most athletically gifted. So, I just figured my best chance of making it was, through the sweat of my brow. So, that's just kind of how I've always been, and it's paid off so far.
Yeah, my godson is a freshman quarterback at a pretty popular high school in California, and I go, listen, man, I'm not going to be anything. I was never anything of what you were, but make every weight training session. This summer, impress the coaches. He said, so far, so good. Granted, we're still in the beginning of the season, but that's something that stood with him. But anyway, all right, my man, congratulations on your win this past Saturday. That Williams kid was tough. Over here we were talking about minus 1100. I know what's up with the odds. But he was tougher to put away than what we expected. Would you agree with the same on your end?
Yeah, he definitely showed up. He definitely came to fight. And he was definitely fighting with a chip on his shoulder. And I think he had a lot of confidence going into the fight, and especially after that first round. But there's 3 rounds in a fight, and I'm more confident in my ability to put guys away in those later rounds when they're a little bit tired and make mental errors, and that's kind of when you capitalize.
Mm-hmm. And now you got me watching all the fights that I've been watching as of late, like on the Fight Pass yesterday. I was checking some out. I'm seeing what you saw, and that's that opening that's there when someone goes to stand up and they don't get them hands up, or if they don't do it quick enough, they're set up for to get punted right in the face.
Yeah, and man, I kind of been in that position when I fought Machida. I thought it was safer just to stay on my back, just because I thought if I kind of, because I know they got the new rules and whatnot, so I don't want to get kicked in the face, so I'm just gonna get comfortable until he allows me to stand.
I got thrown off because the announcers were saying it was right in the nick of time, but they were playing with 2017 rules, so it was not in the nick of time. It was way in the he was way in the clear, because it's either 2 fists or 2 palms. Otherwise, that was in nowhere near a grounded opponent. I think they just got confused with the previous rules.
Well, right? what I think is that you see moments in the sport where like I always think about like the Anderson Silva front kick to the face, right? And then all of a sudden everybody started throwing front kicks to the face. I think this is one of those moments where fighters have to realize, like, unless that referee's in between giving that guy a free stand up, that's an opportunity you need to be looking at as an opportunity to capitalize, because I've seen too many fighters just kind of let the guy get up. And I thought, Eryk, I mean, had you thought about that at all as a potential opening in your fights? I mean, I know we talked after the fight and you said this is not something I've practiced because obviously you can't kick your sparring partners in the face. But, I mean, have you thought about that in your fighting style as a potential area of attack, or was it just on the fly?
Well, man, I asked Blake Grice, the referee, what the rules were before the fight, and he clearly demonstrated what a downed opponent was. Just because I want to get the rules straight on which rules we're playing by. Because some states adopted new rules, some states haven't. Wasn't really sure about Nebraska. And, 2 or 3 times during the fight, he kind of got up with that technical stand-up, but he, kicked at me first, so I had to, back up, and then he made the space himself because, the referee never got in between us and just let him stand up. But that last time, he didn't kick at me at all. So he stood up right underneath me. So all I had to do was step in range, and his chin was right there.
It was spectacular. So I wonder, now that you've had a couple days to think about it, I was kind of curious. I mean, as an athlete, you seem like a committed guy, and I'm sure a perfectionist of sorts. But how do you look back on that fight? Because as you said, it was a grind. It wasn't necessarily the most exciting fight to begin with. So in your head now, is it, okay, I got stuff I need to work on? Is it, I'm proud of myself because I showed some character by coming back? Is it, that's one of my finest moments because I just had a highlight reel knockout that'll probably be on reels for years to come? I mean, are you happy about it, or are you a little frustrated with the way things, started out? How are you going to look back on that fight?
I'm going to look back on the fight as an entire whole. If I was grading it, I'd probably give it a C. Just because, I did start a little slow, gained a little momentum, and did finish the fight with the highlight reel knockout. But, I think it's the little things, like how I started the fight against maybe a top 10, top 15 guy. Maybe that fight doesn't make it to the second round. So definitely a lot of things I need to clean up and evolve in my game. But, man, it's just little things and things that I'm very confident that I can do.
About 90 seconds before that finish, that sequence almost happened again, and it looked, Eryk, like you were about to jump on it. So kudos to you for recognizing this, discussing it with the ref, because that opening is there. And now, so yesterday I was at Extreme and I got to watch a couple film sessions, and now I'm seeing that a lot. But this was overseas, and things get tightened up a lot in the UFC because everyone goes back to their camp with the new tricks that they've seen or the new techniques that have been seen. So some people will tighten this up, some people won't. But put on any MMA fight, and this is going to jump out at you guys. It's really, really cool to see. That's how Eryk Anders won his fight. That's how Eryk Anders also collected 50 G's. I know that one felt good to hear that, right?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm never going to complain about them paying me more.
All right, so catch me up here. You called out Elias Theodorou, and I'm looking here on Twitter with him having his opponent fall out. Who was it again, John?
A Shoeface.
A Shoeface, that's right. People were pitching that to you. Now, that's sooner than when you wanted. I think you said something about December. But I see you, it looks like you have pen to paper, like you're interested or you're not. What's going on with this? Is that going down?
Oh, man, I think that they moved that fight to the Toronto card. They pretty much said that it wouldn't make sense to have 2 non-Brazilians fighting each other in Brazil. So they went ahead and moved that fight to the Toronto card.
Ah, okay. All right. As far as...
Don't worry, man. I'm going to get there.
Well, who's the new name now? Have you had a chance to think of a new name?
Man, I haven't. I need to take a look at the schedule and where they're going and who's available. I'm going down to Vegas next week, so I'm sure I'll run into Nick and kind of pick his brain a little bit.
He messed up, George.
What's that?
He made a mistake. It's a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
He let us know where he's gonna be.
Yeah.
And now we have to make him commit to coming to the MMA Junkie Radio.
Exactly. we're stalking your ass now, man.
I'll come through. Yeah, I know that.
Cool. Lunch is on him, too. He made 50 G's this past weekend.
I ain't saying all that.
Hey, man, you up to date on your tetanus shot or what? Tell me about these teeth marks. How much? I mean, it's a few days later. You posted the pic, but what's going down with that?
Man, I don't know if his mouthpiece was in whenever I kicked him or not, but, it was definitely on the mat after after the fight. Everybody was walking out. I kind of saw it on the mat and ran over and handed it to him. So I don't know if but his teeth marks are definitely in my shin.
Damn, that's crazy. All right. Eryk Anders, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. And by the way, it's called From Birmingham and Beyond. If you guys want to check out a little bit more about the history of Eryk Anders, it shows some of your earlier fights. I got to see Deontay Wilder walk out with you one of your fights. So that was pretty cool to see. Do you still maintain a relationship with him?
Yeah, him and I are real cool and cordial, and we don't train or spar or anything like that. He's down there in Tuscaloosa. It's about 45 minutes away. And, he'd probably wear me out pretty good. So, but yeah, we're cool. Certainly respect what he's done and what he's doing. And, same for me.
Mm-hmm.
Same for him.
How did you manage that, to have him walk out with you, and what are his thoughts on MMA? I mean, he looked very happy to see your KO. That fight went kind of quick, but has he ever expressed to you any kind of appreciation towards our sport?
Yeah, he's a sports fan through and through. So he respects combat sports. He does boxing, which is a little bit different than MMA, but there is a boxing aspect of MMA. So probably not like the biggest fan, but he watches it.
Yeah, and by the way, Deontay Wilder is a frequent guest on At the Fights with Randy Gordon and Jerry Cooney. Check him out; he gives them some great interviews. He's like one of their favorites. All right, let me turn it over to the guys here. Goes, what do you have for your boy Eryk Anders?
Eryk, I love that you assigned a letter grade to your performance. You said you felt like it was a C grade, but what I was thinking about was if you were given the option of a C grade but a bonus, or an A grade, no bonus, which one would you take? Which one would make you feel better?
Hey, C's get degrees, baby.
I love it. You're passing, right?
I'll take that 50K.
There you go.
I'll take it. The money and the win, it's hard to turn that down.
Eryk, this is now 4 performances in the UFC, in the octagon. Is there one intangible that you can look at within the 4 fights that you feel like that you're most proud of that have gotten you here?
Man, I think I'm the grittiest. Between me and the guys that I've, fought, I definitely have the most grit. I think I've moved forward, backed them up the whole time, asserted my will and dominance. I mean, now I've got the win in every fight, but certainly came out the prettier guy and did a lot of damage. And I certainly aim to finish fights. So, I don't think the same can be said about the other 4 guys that I fought.
Our fight analyst, Dan Tom's got something for you. Dan, what do you have for Eryk Anders?
Hey, Eryk, you may have already answered this earlier with John's question, breaking down how you went about it, making sure the rules were in play first. I just want to say it was an awesome kick, and I too am surprised that more people don't try to take advantage of those windows more often. But I guess I was going to ask you it didn't surprise me so much, because when I watched your fight with, I believe it was Marcus Perez, it almost looked like you nailed him with the same one, but Marcus kind of could see what was coming midway and kind of would dive back to the mat when he, on a lot of times, and retreat back to the mat to avoid it. Was there any truth in that? Were you looking for that same kick against Marcus or any of your previous fights when it was available?
Man, I always look for opportunities to throw strikes when my opponent doesn't necessarily think that they're coming or sees them coming. So even the tall, I try to knee him in the chest on the way up during the scramble. I certainly try to kick Marcus Perez. I've even tried to do that, to Brendan Allen in previous fights, but. They kind of see it coming at the very last second. They hit the ground, so I got to pull up on the kick. But man, I've certainly done that in tried that in several other fights.
That's awesome, man. And kind of like you also hinted toward that you were in that position yourself, on the wrong end. That is, in some instances, it didn't come to fruition, thankfully, but against Machida. And it's funny because Machida was one of the first guys, speaking of bringing moves into trends, that he was striking in those small spaces that other guys weren't doing. So it kind of makes sense that you would face that predicament in that fight.
Yeah, so, man, when he was standing on top, I was just like, man, he's going to have to come down here because I'm not going to try and stand up and get booted in the face. That was I thought that was the most dangerous part of that thing. That was the first thing I thought about. So, I went ahead and got comfortable right where I was at.
I do want to be clear, by the way, too. If it was pre-2017 rules, it still would have been a legal kick. Mm-hmm. But what I was bringing up issue was
how close it was.
It shouldn't be discussed because it was a clean as you can get kick.
Yeah.
Because both fists weren't down. And you can't just do the football stance where your fingertips are touching. Now they want palms down or the fists down, which would mean there's more pressure.
Yeah, even if you have both hands down, like if you're on both, sets of fingertips, it's still a legal kick. Like, they don't even want you to play with that middle ground. You either have to have your fist or your palm on the ground.
Yeah,
down anyway.
They basically want to see downward dog. There ain't none of this touching your toes type thing. For all you yoga people out there. All right, I'm not going to let you off the hook. How about Thiago Santos or Gerald Meerschaert? Both guys are coming off wins. They're kind of in that range. If you look at USA Today Sports MMA Junkies rankings, honorable mention, which means you guys are top 20 fighters for sure, just outside of top 15. With one other name, Brad Tavares, who's recovering from, I believe, a broken hand. But he's been in a lot, he's put in a lot of time. So even though he's coming off a loss, he's also a credible name. Any of those three jump out at you, Eryk?
Man, Brad Tavares is the homie, but anybody else, man, I don't care anybody's name. I think by now the fans and the people in the UFC know that I'm down to fight anybody at any time. Just give me a few weeks to tell weight, and I'll show up every rep.
Right on, my man. All right, well, congratulations on the win. The highlight reel KO, the 50 Gs. I mean, it all worked out for you. You got some great experience there, almost going the whole 15 minutes as well. And of course, thank you as always for being on the show. And yeah, if you're in Vegas and you can set some time aside, we'd love to have you back, man. We love talking. By then, college football will be a couple weeks in. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that too.
Let's do it.
All right, Eryk. Take care, man. Enjoy your day.
Hey, appreciate it, brother.
All right, see you. All right, that's Eryk Anders, UFC middleweight. We're going to take our last break of the first hour. We'll come back. We'll talk to a few of the junkie homies. Also, a quick reshuffle of the schedule. We will be talking to the president of PFL, Ray Sefo. So stay close. We'll be right back.
got them fully working.
They were
That's
kicked off the
bad.
set of The
They
Fast
do
and the
that. That's pretty
Furious for being too loud and too good looking. Once again, here's Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, it's fantasy football season, and Fantasy Sports Radio is helping you draft the winning team. Here, the experts analyze NFL training camps and preseason games from the fantasy football perspective. Learn winning strategies, find out which players you need to have on your team, be the most prepared player at your fantasy football draft with Fantasy Sports Radio. Series 210, XM87, and streaming on your phone or at home with connected devices and speakers. Quick note here, Tanya Evinger and Aspen Ladd will be fighting October 6th, which is UFC 226. Nurmagomedov versus McGregor. I like that fight at 135 pounds. I really do. It was broken today on Junkie, right, John?
That's right.
Yeah. So very cool to have that. Dan from Oregon disappeared. I don't know where he went. We would have talked to you right about now, pal, but call back in the next 30 seconds. I think we can squeeze you in. Right now, Felice Herrig and Michelle Waterson seem to be occupying the opening bout spot. And it was
Makes
presented
sense.
to me, could this fight slip in instead of that? Now, Herrig and Waterson are more well known. They do have that historical run on Fight Girls, the reality show back in 2006, 2007, right? And so, will they leave it alone? I don't know. But Ladd and Evinger, the winner, could be really setting themselves up nicely for eventually when Nunes comes back to defend at 135 pounds. I believe that the winner would probably not be next, but like that next wave of contenders.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends, I think, on how long Ketlin Vieira is out. Because,
the one, yeah.
of course, that was who was supposed to fight Evinger to begin with, but now we know she's hurt. So I think a lot of it's going to depend on how long she's out.
I almost called her Tatiana Suarez, who's making noise at 115.
That's right.
Ketlin Vieira.
But should that fight move into the main card? Probably, based on rankings and meaning. But I don't think it's going to. I think the star power of those two names are there.
Yeah.
Just to be on that card is pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
and that's a solid WMMA matchup. Yeah, I got that right. Solid WMMA matchup at 135 pounds. Oftentimes I'll say, hey, I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm a big fan of solid matchups like that one. So we'll see. We'll see how that one works out. All right. How long are they going to be doing that?
I don't know. I guess that has to do with the Michael Jackson thing. It's got it, right?
It's not that bad.
Everything, our remodel that we've been talking about, that seems like it's all done now. For the first time, they have all the screens firing at one time, and
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Impressive.
Did any of you guys catch Equalizer 2, by the way? I think I'm going to catch it today.
No. I got to
give a little bit of love for Jay. You saw it?
It's on my queue.
Okay.
I actually wrote it down on my queue to get to it.
Fuck. I hadn't seen Equalizer 1, but I finally saw it. It was pretty good.
It was pretty good, yeah. I mean, it's not like an Oscar winner or nothing, but it's got its action. Denzel's in it. But it's showing at the AMC Town Square still. So I think I'm going to drop in and check it out. Like it. Are you a movie guy, John?
I just don't have time. I do like watching movies, but man, I just feel like I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I've been falling asleep a lot in movies.
Have you?
Yeah, that's a very old person thing to say, but it's been happening.
That's a George thing to say, not a Ghost thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. You're just not entertained, or you're so relaxed? I mean, these
Maybe
theaters
I'm
are
so
so relaxed now that you recline, and now you can have your frosty beverages that I could see someone passing out from the state of relaxation and not necessarily being bored, from what you're seeing. But that's not Goes-esque. Goes is usually like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I can't start a movie I haven't seen because I'm like, no, because I'm going to stay up and watch it. So I'm just like the opposite. I know I'll stay up. It's like, I can't watch it.
Which ones did you fall asleep at?
The Avengers, the one where they all come together for like 5 or 10 minutes. I fell asleep in that. Black Panther.
So suspect.
Wow. For like 3 minutes of Jurassic Park. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Might have to take a
Hey, during the break,
5
remind
hour
me to tell
energy.
you the weirdest thing I've ever seen at a movie theater.
All right. All right, folks. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll be joined by PFL President Ray Sefo. We got to ask him about that $74,000 they gave to Johnny Case,
Dude.
who will not have to fight Jason High. But more on that when we come back. that may have been the last one because, at that point, I think people started saying, "Hey,
It makes me feel like that.
I couldn't believe it, dude." Boy, you're just looking for trouble at that point. Yeah. All right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We will be catching up with Ray Sefo, and I think one of the first questions we're going to ask him is, coming out of New Jersey, Jason High missed weight versus Johnny Case, who, by the way, hasn't fought for PFL. He was kind of coming into a position there where, because of some a couple other guys that couldn't continue, one of them I know was Ramsey Nijam. I think Brian Foster was the other one.
Yep.
More on Ramsey in just a second. Remind me, goes.
Okay.
Because of that, these two were in a position where the winner just advanced. All you had to do was make weight, and boom, you're in, and you're in the playoffs, and now you're 1 of 8 with time to recover because the playoffs don't start till October 5th. All right, they're going to go October 5th, New Orleans. Big John might want to cover that one.
I'd love to go down there.
Round 2.
The next week goes the 12th. They're in Long Beach, California.
Where? At the Pyramid?
No, the arena where Chandler fought Alvarez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next to the convention center.
Right there on the marina. And then the following week after that, they go back east. I think it's Washington, D.C. So the kind of playoffs are kind of set there. But that would have had some time, for them to decompress, and because they've been fighting a little bit more frequently here. Not that it's that much more time, but still. And then make a strong push here, for the $1 million. But my man didn't make weight, and that's that. He is older. He is a wrestler. I don't know what happened. I guess we'd have to ask him.
Had the worst run this year, man. He definitely lost the last one, but had the where he didn't tap out. Yeah. Oh man.
He came in at 60.2, so he was 4.2 over. You only have to come in for 56. It's not a title fight. And one other thing, back to Ramsey, he got his black belt from Jake Shields. He says after 20 years of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journey, he finally got his black belt. And Jake Shields is an AJJ black belt, American Jiu-Jitsu. He has it proudly on his forearm. I don't think anybody would dispute that his game ain't tight enough to be, doing whatever he wants. Jake Shields, of course, he's under Cesar Gracie, but, he's always been proud of his American Jiu-Jitsu. And I don't know how many black belts he has under AJJ, but Ramsey there and Jake took a pretty cool pick.
How about Johnny Case, though, man? Johnny Case shows up, makes weight, takes home a check for $74K, and now he's the number 8 seed in the playoffs.
Look at the playoffs, or the standings. PFL.
I asked
who's number 1.
What are you looking at?
He'll have to fight Nathan Schulte. It'll be Will Brooks versus Thiago Tavares, Islam Mamedov versus Rashid Magomedov, and Chris Wade versus Robert Watley.
I asked Jake Shield one time on the show what the difference between American Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. Like, what's his spin on it? One's American and the other one's Brazilian.
That's really what he said?
He left me hanging. He was being serious. And I was like, all right, moving on. I just had to say something like that.
Did you say like in a smart-ass
No,
way,
I think he was being serious.
Come on,
hey, that was a dumb question. I thought maybe he's a little bit more aggressive, so I thought maybe that's what it was.
Like the catch wrestlers, we're there to break things. We're not the gentle art. We're the violent art. I think that's what Josh Barnett always says. You set him up for him to really, really deliver something.
Yeah, I thought he was going to deliver like a joke, like it's American, Kimura.
Yeah, he went like this.
So,
he did this, and he just went.
That's the first PFL bracket we know in full now. We know the full lightweights, and we know all the first round matchups. That's pretty cool. I like Will Brooks versus Thiago Tavares. That's a fight we could have seen in major organizations,
that should
right?
be on their NBC and MSNBC portion.
And then, it's going to be criminally underrated probably, but Islam Mamedov versus Rashid Magomedov.
Man.
A couple.
Magomedov's like 21-2. Like he had a good UFC run too.
Yep. 21-2 against 16-1.
Wow. Chris
pretty
Wade
legit.
versus Robert Watley, and Johnny Case versus Nathan Schulte. All right.
Chris Wade.
It already has the date and everything, John.
Yeah,
PFL 9, October 20th. So that's the one in Washington, D.C. If you look at their website, it's really well done. Like, it's very well updated. All the links are constantly, plug into wherever they need to go. I'm really impressed by what they've done.
I love their content. There's something fun about looking at standings and knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I keep going back to is it makes the card all feel like all the fights matter together, like they're all part of something versus just a card where it's like, oh, that was a good fight. Now let's take a 10-minute break and have another good fight in another division. That they're all together.
Yeah.
So it's intriguing, man. again, that's not to say that it's not a difficult, man. They got to write some big checks at the end of this year, man. You got to have some money behind you, but I think the concept is working.
I was worried about the big check they have to write, but man, these like little that we thought were little checks, those are pretty big too.
They add up, yeah. I'd like to see a tabulation of season 1 payouts at the end with all the payouts along the way included.
Yeah.
You know, that would be interesting. But even the brackets, like probably the most least attractive matchup is on paper is one I'm excited for the most, which is Chris Wade versus Robert Watley. Robert Watley's a guy real unorthodox style. He's kind of coming into his own, and you're seeing these guys that might not have had the competition or the opportunities. They're able to prove it now against bigger names, and even guys like Chris Wade or Johnny Case, like you said, Tavares and Brooks maybe be the bigger names we'll see. Maybe as far as maybe push or toward the top. But to be honest, I hate saying this. I feel like I curse guys when I say this, but like both Chris Wade and Johnny Case were guys that I had labeled as dark horses while they were still in the UFC. Those are really talented dudes, really well-rounded guys, kind of still trying to find their styles, and now they get to do it here with that money attached. So I'm really excited for that lightweight bracket.
I'm excited for the end of the season to see, because we all know this, but the fighters do too. I want to see how many people come in to try and make $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that we didn't think would maybe go that route before. I think they're seeing
Kevin,
everything.
Kevin Lee was telling us like,
see
wow.
his eyebrows? He was like,
He was like, wow. I mean, you know, and I know I mentioned it to Chandler too, who we signed with Bellator. I don't know. I guess the timing of his wouldn't have been. You know, he would have had to get an early release to be able to start this. This started in June, but let me point to something else. Jamie Abdallah and Smilinho Rama. That's your main event. They both have 0 points. I think if your submission game ain't tight, you want to avoid Vinny Magalhaes.
Yeah.
So not only do you want to win and maybe supersede Halsey, Cleveland, and O'Connell if they drop their fights.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So there is something to that strategy. Again, if you look at your record and go, wow, the 4 losses I've had were all by submission, well, guess what? You better really, really not only go to win, but go to win and avoid that monster, because Vinny's just been on a roll.
Yep.
Do you think they're ever going to run into a situation? I kind of wanted to ask Sean O'Connell the other day, but it'd be a little bit difficult to ask somebody, but where it would make sense to lose. Like, you're like, I love the matchup. If I get 0 points, I love my next round matchup. I mean,
oh shit.
Not really.
But you don't get your immediate. Let's just use Case's salary. You lose that 37.
That's true. You do lose. Yeah, you're
But what about
losing money
fight
there.
to a decision? Maybe not go for the finish.
Like not go for the finish.
Yeah.
And then you get that on your ego, your record, and then let's say you commit to that you're in that magic opportunity where it's screaming for you, and you give in. But then that guy gets injured, and like, wait, if I would have won, I wouldn't have had to face that guy.
And that's a dangerous game to play too.
And
like,
you could never share that. You could never share that with anyone, because no matter how much you love your coaches and teammates, I'm telling you, if that gets out, that could be like really, really bad for you. That could be a career ender.
Yeah.
I think what you could do is win, but win by decision, not win by without getting those other points. But Atayev has 0 points. He's in the co-main versus Sean O'Connell. So not only does he want to win, same thing. If again I know when we broke these down the other day, we were talking about a lot of guys have some serious KO power and stuff like that. But if your submission game ain't tight, then you want to make a move here.
Yeah.
On Thursday night. 9 p.m. Eastern Start Time, by the way, for NBC Sports. It's Channel 220 if you have DirecTV. Otherwise, check your cable and satellite listings.
I still think that if somebody's willing to maybe go that route, the one that I've always talked about, but I don't think anybody agrees with me, is if you get 2 people who know each other in the final and they just go, we'll still fight.
Oh,
but how about we split that $1 million? We just off the record right now.
We're just going.
But we'll still fight.
Like, how about I just go choke you in 30 seconds? Neither one of us gets hurt.
No, like, still fight.
Oh, okay.
But
just
right
hedge
now,
their bets. Just be like, hey, let's.
Yeah, we're
because it's $1 million and $1 million if you win, and what, 100?
200.
200 if you lose.
So you're saying
like you get
when you get
600
at the end of like a football pool or something.
Yeah, you're like,
hey, instead of why don't we just split it? And
weren't there some matches in the early days?
Yeah.
I forgot who.
Weren't there some matches in the early days of the UFC tournaments
that
may have had that scenario in there?
Definitely.
But
our good friend Don Fry had like 3 fights with Mark Hall. I think we may have asked him about one of them, and there was just a smile on his face. No confirmation, and I don't want to smear a Hall of Famer's name.
What are you trying to do to me, partner?
Yeah, because he's had some awesome fights. I mean, I saw him make hamburger out of Batechi's face, but I also saw Coleman do the same thing to him. And then, of course, his legendary fight that he had in Japan. Can't question that guy's cojones.
And I just want to say real quick, careful with the Mongolese stereotype too, because let's look at the welterweight bracket. Look at Ray Cooper. He smashed their two strongest grapplers. One being Jake Shields, who we were just talking about, who's one of the greatest grapplers ever. You look at who that guy's taken down, and Ray Cooper, who's a striker, not a grappler, not a known guy, doesn't have quality wins on his record, doesn't have a Muay Thai experience or grappling experience. Came out and knocked that guy out, Jake Shields out, and Pavel Kush, not a big name, but was arguably the second guy right under Jake Shields as far as who's the most dangerous submission guy. And again, we just saw the most low-credentialed fighter, a striker, a non-good matchup on paper, and that guy just smashed through the brackets. I think Ray Cooper's he's like 13 points or something, the very top there. So I mean, that's how crazy this thing is. I'm not ready to even write anybody off.
Those guys that did have the KO power, maybe some of them do have a solid wrestling base or a judoka base, or we don't know enough about some of them. Because some of them are some names that we haven't been familiar with, but still. Just a quick update. Ray Sefo will join us at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Start Time. So
cool.
Let's squeeze in this call, and then we'll start to mess around a little bit with the commercials. So
Two calls,
yeah.
Cool.
Scott in Utah, what's up, buddy?
What's up, boys?
Scott A.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, John Morgan?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, John Morgan's my favorite journalist, man.
That's what's up.
Yeah, the reason why is, I listen to other podcasts and, like the CME, Cold Main Event. And those guys, they're good, but they're so critical of everything. They're bitching about the low ratings, bitching about Dana White, bitching about batter pay. I heard them last week saying, leaking cards, shit. Without Gaethje, it's garbage. And then I listened to John Morgan. He's like, man, this is a sneaky good card. You got Michael Johnson, you got Joanne Calderwood, you got Jake Ellenberg fighting for his life. And
Jake Ellenberg.
I'm like, I enjoy your positivity. I feel like if there was a fight in a nursery ward, you'd be watching it.
I would, man. I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, you're one of those guys that you feel like you're a big fan of it. And you like, it's actually a joyful occasion for you to cover these things. And so I just want to say props up to you, man.
Shout out, man. I appreciate that, brother. That's definitely an accurate description, man. At the end of the day, I started in the sport as a fan, and I got super lucky to be able to make a living as a professional journalist in a field that I love. So, man, I really appreciate that. I'm glad that comes through, man.
Who stays up to 4 in the morning, doing in a half show?
Idiots like me. That's who.
All right, man. I just wanted to say that, and I'm out. Thanks.
Okay, see you, Scott.
Oh, that's what's up. Just called in again.
Yeah, give it a quick plug. You drop your shows on Friday.
Yeah,
the Road Show with John Morgan and his partner Cold Coffee. Fridays and with the occasional Sunday, right?
Trying to do more, man. I love the and a half episodes. We get a little post-fight show. I'll try to drop in a little audio from backstage because ain't everybody got time to watch all those YouTube videos or watch all the things on our site. So play a little audio there. So yeah, definitely try to. It's just tough. Like last week, it's no sleep and straight to the airport and all that. So they're hard to do, but they're fun.
Let's do one more call. I want to do this one, and then Danny will get us Ray Sefo. And then we'll worry about the breaks afterwards because it'll be a quick spot with Ray. I know they're really busy over there, a lot of moving parts. If you haven't heard, Johnny Case advances. He won't be fighting because Jason High missed weight. And he got paid $37 and $37, I'm assuming, because he got paid $74K. I doubt it's $74K just to show. But still, very impressive, man, to hear something like that. Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Hey, I want to give my boy some support, man, because he's a real low-key guy, man. Damn, real good guy that don't get a lot of love, but a damn good fighter, man. That's Lewis Taylor, man. PFL, man.
Yeah.
This guy, man, I'm talking. It's probably, you know what? He's a better guy than he is a fighter, man. And that's saying a lot. But man, this dude, if you look at, man, this man has only lost, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of this guy has won a lot of fights, man. He gave David Brent all he wanted. That's his last loss that he's had in a while. And this guy just doesn't get a lot of love because he's not, he don't talk a lot of shit. He's not all flashy, but I got him as a real contender, man, in that middleweight division over there. Because he's an all-around fighter. He can throw them hands and he can be good on the floor, too. So
Yeah,
I just want to give him a lot of love, man, because he's a good guy, man.
For sure, man. He's a good dude. I think, like you said, like 9-1 in his last 10 fights. He only lost to David Branch. He beat Phil Hawes along the way there. He picked up a couple other wins and changed his nickname from Handguns to Put the Guns Down. You know what I'm saying? So he's even spreading positivity. Yeah, good. Shout out to Lewis Taylor for real.
13 finishes and 16 wins. I remember talking to that guy. That's the guy we told him he looks like a young Louis Gossett Jr., right?
Yeah.
Except he didn't really get the reference, but I don't know. Showtime?
Yeah, I just thought I wanted to call in, man, and get this guy a lot of love, man. He was good to us junkies out there, man, and we were out in Vegas, man.
That's
Sat
awesome.
there, man, and basically just chopped it up for a while. So I just wanted to give him a little love, man.
He definitely puts beatings on people, man. I mean, I guess if it were football, it would be like a 42-0 or something like that, right, George?
Yeah.
That's a pasting, right?
Exactly. That's what comes to mind with me.
How about you, Showtime? Does that come to mind?
Yeah, come to mind. Then check this out. This come to mind, too. This guy's 39 years old, man. This guy's 39.
Yeah. 3 short of 42.
Waxing Momo's, like my book DJ would say, waxing Momo's ass.
Like the way modern day wax Bishop Gorman?
Hey, yeah, I owe you, man. I got you.
All right, my man. Always good to chat with you, Showtime. Kevin Lee told me yesterday I got to get with Showtime, so I guess we'll finally make it happen after 3 years.
It's your time.
Okay, man.
All right,
I'll see you guys soon, man.
All right, take care.
All right.
We got people calling in to give me love, people calling in to give Lewis Taylor love. I like it. No discussion topics, no points, just giving love.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break then, and then we'll have Danny retrieve Ray Sefo out there in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Tomorrow night, PFL 7 headed your way, lightweights and light heavyweights. And as we talked about the last 10 minutes, there are some key fights there where there could be some moving parts, definite incentives if you want to stay away from some of the monsters that have been performing, like Vinny Magalhaes, submitting people, man. First round, I think both of them, quick. He got his 6 points and his 6 points, and he's looking good.
Yep.
All right, folks, so stay close. We'll be right back.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here are George and Goes.
Get the radio channel numbers and a link to listen to your favorite NFL, college football, or Major League Baseball team sent right to your smart device. Just go to SiriusXM.com/sports today and click Add to My Calendar. It's time for the Daily Debate, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team, and of course John Morgan joining us here more frequently, also the host of the MMA Roadshow with John Morgan. Here we go, guys. As a fan of MMA, which issue in the sport would you like to see addressed first? Fighter pay, judging inconsistencies, or weight cutting? Actually, there's a fourth choice. It's other, and feel free that if you choose other to let us know what that other is. John, you go first.
All right. I keyed in especially on that part as a fan. And as a fan, I want the right people to be winning. So to me, I'm going with judging inconsistencies. I mean, listen, fighter pay, obviously, for the good of the sport, more people getting involved, that's a big thing. Let's hope that that continues to improve. Weight cutting, drastic. I mean, we're talking about health issues here, you know what I mean? But I'm thinking, does the average person key in on finances or key in on those kind of behind-the-scenes weighing things? Maybe not. They got a few bucks on it. They want to make sure the right guy is the winner. So as a fan, I'd say judging inconsistencies. We got to get – first of all, the damn commission's got to all use the same rules. That's part of it right there. And then we just got to continue the education. We got to continue the judges and officials learning, getting better, seeing the same things, evaluating the same way, awarding the right winners to fight. So as a fan, I want to see the judging inconsistencies addressed. Let's get these people educated on the same page.
Goes?
It was a tie between weight issues and other, but I think I'm going to go with other. And other goes to what John just said. I want the rules to be the same all the way across the board. I'm tired of trying to figure out where are we at tonight. By the way, group of people, casual fans, these are the rules for tonight. Why are there different rules? I'm sick of that, man.
Hell, the fighters sometimes aren't up to date on the rules.
The refs aren't up to date on the rules.
All right, how about you, Dan?
Man,
where do you sit?
If I have to go with, these three or other with the Magic Wand, I'd be so tempted to do the judging inconsistencies because I think Magic Wand is, at this point, the only way to fix their inconsistencies. But I actually decided to go with fighter pay, and that's because weight cutting is also important. Weight cutting before the fight, judging an outcome after the fight. But I believe that if we give the fighters their amount of pay, that I think the outcome will be less important to us and them in a certain sense as far as them going in happier, putting on the best performances, and the pay also translates into preparation. Even though I would rather not have these guys cutting weight, if they cut weight drastically a little bit or not at all, they will be more funded to do it properly and more nutritiously and healthily. So I'll go fighter pay.
So you like that Justin Gaethje angle? Get rid of the win bonus, basically. You want to see everybody getting paid or the whole amount?
Yeah. Just getting their fair due, a flat fee, and that's another argument in itself. But definitely, yeah.
The other thing too about weight cutting, it's got to be fixed. But gosh darn it, there's just no easy solution, man. We've heard them all, right? And then you've heard some. And as soon as you hear somebody come up with an issue, you hear somebody poke a hole in it on the other side. So tough.
Mine would be weight cutting. I hate to see these guys go through what they go through, and then seeing what Darren Till had to say, for example, and how he feels, and one day prior hearing how great James Krause felt. I think if you had that, is it going to end it? No, but I think we're going to curb it, and that's a start. The others are very important. This was a great question. I just feel like this one can be life or death, and so I think I want to get to it first. It was close, guys. 44% said weight cutting, 29% said fighter pay, 26% said judging inconsistency, 1% said other. And other could be a lot of things, but great job, Junkie Nation, voting. Almost 1,000 votes came in. And there you have it. That's the Daily Debate for today. All right, now we're joined by the president of PFL. His name is Ray Sefo. Got a lot to talk to him about here, and I want to start off with a doozy. However, reminder real quick, tomorrow night, it is PFL 7 in Atlantic City on NBC Sports Network at 9 p.m. Eastern start time. A lot of people have DirecTV. That's why I'm telling you right off the bat, channel 220, all right? 6 p.m. on the Pacific time zone. And don't forget Facebook Live. You can go to Pro Fight Live to go directly to the link there for pre and post fight coverage, as well as some of the fights that are featured there before the main event. We don't call them prelims. And on the night of the fight, you can just go to facebook.com/live. You'll see a lot of stuff, but PFL is very prominent there. Joining us now on the hotline is Ray Sefo. What's up, Ray? How you doing? Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio.
Thank you. How are you guys?
Great. Wow, we heard the news. It's on the front page of MMA Junkie. What happened with Jason High and Johnny Case? Johnny Case will move on to the playoffs, but I gotta commend the PFL. You guys are paying him everything, his show money and his win bonus. That is a big statement.
Correct. Yes, we feel like all these guys put it on the line every time they got to get ready for a fight, and also cutting weight. Johnny Case took this fight in 2 weeks' notice, the same length of time that I had actually contacted Luis Firmino and Jason High, and then 3 days later I get a call, a text from Firmino that he couldn't fight. So Johnny Case was able to fill that spot, and he came in on weight.
You can just tell, man, your organization is very pro-fighter. That is a great payday for somebody who is still in the regular season. And I've been telling you this, Ray, even before. Right. I felt like you guys sent some shockwaves through our sport, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in Season 2. A lot of people have already said, wow, what PFL is doing is amazing. But today's news is going to be a huge statement as well. And I think you're going to have a plethora of quality fighters for Season 2. Not to get too ahead. I know we're in Season 1, but today's news was great to see.
Yeah, no, and obviously that's the kind of message we want to send, PFL wants to send out, is that, we look after our guys. And as long as, listen, I know what it's like to, spend 8 hours a day training, and, especially when you got to put in 2 to 3 different workouts. And so the team and I here at PFL fully understand that, and we're fighters first. And so when Johnny Case stepped up, made weight, and paid him his full purse, he's in the playoffs, and I wish him the very best.
What was his reaction when you told him he was getting everything?
He was just dumbfounded, to be honest. He was obviously super happy. Him and his team couldn't stop thanking me, but then I had to run because, I had other things that I needed to attend to. But, yeah, no, he was very happy. And, again, like I said, whether it was Johnny Case or Jason High, if it flipped the role, if that was Jason High, the scenario would have been the same. So, what we want to do is just, again, continue to send a message that fighters first, and that we're going to look after our fighters.
PFL President Ray Sefo joining us here on the hotline tomorrow night, NBC Sports Network, 9 p.m. Eastern Star Time. Check out PFL 7. They are closing down the regular season. The playoffs will be starting soon, and a lot of these fights have some implication as far as who gets in. Also, some possible movement there within the seedings. We were studying that earlier, Ray. Let me turn it over to John Morgan. John, what do you have for Ray Sefo?
Yeah, Ray, man, I saw you a couple weeks ago, and I told you face to face. I've been super impressed with the concept and how fun it's been covering the standings. And but I do wonder, okay, now that we're wrapping up the regular season, we still got the playoffs, we still got the fun, $1 million checks to write here at the end of the year. But have you learned anything in this regular season? Because this was kind of a new thing for everybody. Has anything happened along the way that you said, we got to make some changes, we got to make some tweaks for Season 2? Has anything kind of popped up unexpectedly, or have you learned anything that you thought, we got to fix this for Season 2?
Yeah, well, a perfect example is the scenario that just happened with Johnny Case and Jason High. These two guys were fighting for the number 8 spot because 9, 10, 11, 12, those guys don't have points. So these two, 100%, we had to have a winner for the guy to get into the playoffs. And so when Jason High couldn't make weight and he was over by 5 pounds, Johnny Case not only gets his full fight purse, but he earns 3 points as a walkover to get into the playoffs.
Interesting. So that's how you get it. I was wondering how you guys made that determination. So you get 3 points for the walkover. There, smart thing.
Correct. Yep. So yeah, it's like he won the fight by decision.
Goes, what do you have for Ray Sefo?
Ray, I know sometimes you guys can be your own harshest critics, and on today's show, we've been kind of handing out letter grades for things, for different fights, different scenarios. Can you maybe give a letter grade, A, B, C, D, F, towards how the regular season has gone so far? Are you pretty happy?
Yeah, you know what? All in all, I'm very happy about how this all turned out. Obviously, this was myself and my team's vision, and we couldn't ask for a better start to the actual PFL league and to leading up to the playoffs and then to the championship. The regular season has been, sure, we've had some little things here and there where some guys couldn't make weight, but all in all, it's been, the fighters have been absolutely professional and just been amazing at getting in there in the cage and doing what they do best, and that's fighting. And of course, we've seen most cards that we've had so far from PFL 1 to PFL 6. We're going home with 7 or 8 finishes out of 12 fights.
A minus?
A minus, yep.
All right. That's kind of where I have it too. And just on the personal side, yesterday Kevin Lee was in here, and I can't remember what the topic was, but we had brought up something from the older days of mixed martial arts, and he just said, you know what, bro, that wasn't my era. I don't remember that. The last couple times we've had you here, when we introduce you, it's always PFL president, but you've done so much more for the sport, not just in mixed martial arts and kickboxing, K1, all that. When's the last time with all these new crop of fighters that you had to remind someone, hey, bro, I used to be a fighter too?
No, I mean, every fighter that I've come across knows my history and or have heard about me being a fighter and whatnot. But I haven't come across anybody that's completely said, who are you again? And again, listen, I'll be more than happy just to explain it depending on how far they want to go.
Oh, we saw. I remember at the Planet Hollywood, you had to introduce yourself to somebody from Nate Diaz's crew, or Nick Diaz's crew. All right, Dan, Tom, finish things off. What do you have for the Prez, Ray Sefo?
Hey, Ray. I know we're talking about the positive influx that the fans are taking to the PFL, and we're talking about the fighters. But what about the home office and the facilitators of the PFL? The behind the scenes crew. I know you guys are pretty tight knit, but with the success and the trial and error of just putting on these shows, do you guys see yourself expanding? Your guys' crew internally, or anything on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. When we started Versus the Fighting 6.5 years ago, we started off with 5 or 7 people. Now we have a staff of 60 plus and four offices: head office in DC, office in New York, office in LA, and office in Vegas. So that tells you how we've expanded. But not only that, but also the group in itself and the team in itself are very committed to not only putting on great shows, but also to our fighters that we have in the league.
All right, Ray, I know you're a busy guy. We'll let you go, but I do want to say we were studying it early, and Jamie Abdallah, Smilinho Rama in the main event, not only do they need to win, but it's very key that from 3 to 6 points could be the difference if one of these guys doesn't have their submission game tight. That's one way to stay away from Vinny Magalhaes, who's sitting at the top, and then Bazaget Ataev could get in, same thing, by beating O'Connell. O'Connell, depending on he's a little bit more seasoned, but it's really interesting to see how these points could factor in with the seedings. Like I say, Vinny's sitting there at the top, and he's just been mowing through some of these cats, so it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. And we already got a glimpse at how the lightweights are going to feature on October 19th, because it looks like that's when their playoffs start. So we kind of got to look at those standings. It was really, really cool to just look at standings with points, something new in our sport, I guess. But we enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And you mentioned Vinny, and Vinny it's almost like this has given him a new outlook and a new life in the game. And talking to him, he said he's never felt so confident ever gone into a fight or and the way the league keeps him fighting every 5-6 weeks. He's in shape all the time, and so he's on a high right now. And so again, the playoffs when that happens, it could be anybody's. And so that's what makes it interesting and entertaining.
For sure. All right, Prez, we'll talk to you soon, man. PFL 7, we'll be watching tomorrow night on NBC Sports Network at 9 p.m. Eastern Start Time. And thanks for the time here on MMA Junkie Radio.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you. All right, let's take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM's Fight Nation Channel 93. We'll be back. We can take some calls. We'll finish up with some news. It's going to be fun.
Commercial break, they were all tested for performance-enhancing drugs. George and Goes came back clean, but Dad tested positive for Viagra. Like a lot of it. Here are the boys.
Got a question for you guys. Do we have a third player, a legit third player for future free agencies, like at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019? Actually, let me say 2019. I think we need to get through the season. I think we need to see guys holding up checks at PFL.
Yeah.
And I think, because, fighters need to be walked, held by the hand to do stuff. They need to see that kind of stuff and then register. Hold on a second. Should I be taking my talents here? Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
I think, first of all, what you just said is the key. Like, if we were to say right now, like, hey, man, a free agent's up there. He's unrestricted. Everybody wants him. What do you think about PFL? I think that would be like, yeah, but I got UFC and Bellator talking to me. I'll probably end up at one of those. But once you got those $1 million checks, when you got dudes with like, holding up the big check, $1 million, I think that's going to appeal to a lot of people. Now, maybe not necessarily the highest tier of fighter that's like, no, I already make like $5 million over here. You know what I mean? But like those, B, and I mean, when I say B level, I don't mean, but like if since we've been doing the grading scale today, you know what I mean? Maybe not the top tier, but just right below. Why wouldn't you, man? A chance to win $1 million. I think the tricky part is going to be timing. You know what I mean? Because you got to be there to start the season. It's not like you can just roll in if you happen to be a free agent in September or whatever.
And you have to have a style that can sustain the 5 fights or possibly 6 in 1 year. What about when let's just excuse me, use Vinny as an example, and he's rolling in with an Escalade or something.
Right.
I'm telling you, man, this is going to be an attention grabber for the other guys in the gym.
Yep.
They're going to go circle back and go, wow, 5 fights, he did this, blah, blah. It's going to permeate out
think
there.
about it. Think about this. A guy like a Aaron Pico. Now, I don't know what he's getting paid exactly, right? But let's say his deal with Bellator, was up. Then that's a kind of guy where you go, hold up, man. Now, I like Bellator. They started me out, man. I believe in them. They invested in me. I love them. UFC, top tier, man. That's the biggest stage. But I got a chance to win $1 million in a year. Like, you know what I mean? You tell me you wouldn't at least consider it? I think you'd at least consider it.
Timing and your placement in your career.
Right.
Because I'm thinking of a guy like Michael Chandler. I kind of understand. All right, stay with Bellator, make that run for your title, get it back. Maybe a guy like Cub Swanson, who's done a lot in the UFC, WEC. Maybe that someone like him would say.
What about like
I got like? There's a lot of guys that say I have 3 left, I
Right.
have 4 left, I have 5 left. Those guys, I think. Will
What
be
about
very
Eddie
entertaining.
Alvarez?
Why not?
Would he go out on a chance to win $1 million? But what does he command for it?
He did the Bellator, so he's got a feel of how the tournament works.
But what does he command per purse? You know what I mean? Like, is he like if Bellator says, "Look, man, we'll give you $500,000 a fight, and we'll fight you 3 times this year." Well, now you just made $1.5 million, regardless of what you.
Right. I don't think they pay him that much. The number 200,000 always stands out to me, man. With some of these guys that are outside of when they come back from being a pay-per-view guy, he was a pay-per-view guy for the Conor McGregor fight, but outside of that, I think Eddie's probably a 2-2 guy, or maybe up front 350 guy, and that's it. I don't know. That's just the neighborhood I'm thinking.
I think where it gets confusing is who's going to play the waiting game. So in other words, when you're negotiating, if I'm going to be in the welterweight tournament, who else is in that tournament before I sign the contract? I don't know how PFL does that. If they go, these guys are in there. If they go, hey,
here's how I
put people in there.
Let's see the other 7. Who
Yeah,
got
right?
in there?
Here's how I see the field splitting. I'm going to re-bring up this theme because I think it's super relevant. That magic invisible number for the UFC. How many stars do I need at the top of my list to fill out this slot as far as headliners that can go from a fight night to a pay-per-view? That's the game now, right? That's the game. It's how many. It's not clearly that they gave up on stacking cards, even if it's pay-per-view. It's not something that's on the top of their list always. It's putting names on the top, and whatever that magic number is, if you're not a fighter who's vetting for that magic number, whether you're a UFC as far up as a UFC darling, or at least at the bottom end of that spectrum, a guy that the UFC is going to go to for a headliner, I think if you're not those guys, you're getting lost in the shuffle no matter how good you are right now in this field. So I think if you're outside that mythical number, whether it's 24 to 30 something, whatever we were saying as far as rotations of quote-unquote stars and everything that spectrum's between, anybody outside that spectrum of the proverbial star, I think that's going to be the field where you're going to watch they'll consider the PFLs. I mean, look, we just talked about Case and Wade and guys like that. Tough close losses against tough matchups, but they were just getting drowned on undercards and never really those guys are going to be like, wait, I'm in this deep division, I'm in this big machine. If I'm not right up there at least peeking my head up over the table, I'm not, dude, let's go over here.
I'm telling you, man. Okay, let me ask you guys another question. And I'm cheating here because I got the standings in front of me, so I'll allow you to get to pflmma.com if you want to check it out. But what guy do you think has a chance to win this season and come back and win it again? Like, because that's $2 million in 18 months.
Say it again.
What guy would you say has a good shot at winning this year and next year?
Lance Palmer.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Lance Palmer has a chance.
Palmer and Harrison look really tough.
I would probably pick from
much respect to Seiler. He's gotten his 12 points too.
I think Vinny's been really impressive.
Vinny wouldn't be bad depending on who they bring. Now, if
light heavyweight,
depending on who they bring in, because that's
one of those.
That's what I'm saying. I think middleweight to heavyweight, I would put my bet there because that's where you have this range of like.
Featherweight looks tough.
We got 6'5" young Brazilian guys like that, and then the guy who beat him, Lewis Taylor, who we were talking about, 39-year-old American guys who just it's a big difference. It's a big spread. It's more of a wild west in those divisions. Not a lot of stability. So if somebody can make themselves a clear horse in the heavier division, I'd say that.
So check this out. What if 6 months ago Gegard Mousasi just said, I'm going to hang back, and before signing with Bellator he goes, wait, what's going on over here? You're going to tell me Mousasi wouldn't be a very clear favorite over Abus Magomedov, Lewis Taylor, Shamil Gatsamatov, Bruno Santos, John Howard? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
some of these divisions aren't as...
But you got to feel next year they're going to do what? Well, I guess that doesn't count regular season fights. You'd have to determine what you get in the regular season too, right? Because I bet Gegard makes more than $1 million in 3 fights.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Let's not count the regular season. Let's just count the playoffs. That's 3 fights to win $1 million. Guarantee you he makes more than that.
Yeah, headliner fighter, so that's going to fit in that category, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think timing's going to play a lot into it. So because if you have to wait 5 months before you can even get in there, that's time that you could have been making what he's talking about.
Okay, how about this one? And I know we're all a little bit. This might be subjective, but and the dude just retired. But what about Jake Ellenberger? Could this pull him back? He'd have to deal with Ray Cooper, João Zeferino, Magomed Karamov, Rick Story, Pavel Kush, Bojan Velikovic, Jake Shields, who we already beat, by the way, Abdukar Nurmagomedov. And I'm going to look up Jake Shields to see Jake Ellenberger. For some reason, I think him and Story have fought before, too, but let me look.
I think that could bring him back.
I could. Or
Cub Swanson is a good
Swanson's
example.
about the name I was about to pull up. And
he
a
just
guy that's
signed, right?
Yeah,
in December?
But a guy that's like, you know
How would he
what,
have
I'm
done?
about done. But hey, I'll give you 1 year and go for you know what I mean? Like that might be the guys like that are, like you said, Ellenberger coming back. I mean, he already hung it up, but I could see a guy on his last leg being like, you know what, man, I'm not facing these monsters in the UFC, but I'll give it a shot at $1 million. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, I lose and I call it a day.
I think guys like I mean, I don't know if
he lost
where
the
they're
story.
at in their contracts, but like guys like Thiago Tavares, I think would take a chance on stuff like this and still be a big enough name to make people go, wow, I'm tuning in for this.
Now, to be fair, guys, you get $1 million for winning, but let's just say you get 37 for your 3 regular season matchups, and then the playoffs pay. I'm going to just say 37 on that one. I'm just going to use Case's number. 37 times 6. I'll even go low scenario here.
Okay.
Low ball. That'd be, what's 37 times 5? It's at least 150, 171?
Yeah,
185? 185 plus your $1 million. That's 1185.
All right.
I don't know.
I got one.
Okay.
What's up?
Let's say Gregor Gillespie was a free agent. That's a dude that's a beast, but he ain't getting much love, right? I mean, how big is his contract right now? Like, he's not. He doesn't get. I don't think he gets the attention he deserves, and I don't know if it's his fighting style or his personality or what. But like if I was a free agent, undefeated Gregor Gillespie, I'm talking to you. Give me a shot at winning $1 million.
How about this? Kevin Holland, who just fought at the Dana White Contender Series. What if before signing that, the agent calls him and goes, you know, we could also go the route of PFL. They're starting up. I mean, do you look at PFL before you look at Dana White Contender Series? Hey, I'm going to put Dana White Contender Series on hold. Let me make this run at $1 million. This is also like a gamble on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure PFL is going to come up with something in their contract that says, hey, hang on a second, partner. We didn't just give you $1 million for you to go away.
Oh no, you're
committing. You're committing at least till the next season, but still, you know, they are paying you along the way, and you saw by today's number that it seems like they're paying more than fair.
Yep.
I'm telling you, man, this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to see how things shake out here.
One guy that just announced retirement, and one guy that said he has one left, Evan Dunham. I think Jake and Evan.
Dunham.
At least one of them, I think, will end up in season 2.
And the good part about them not getting guys like Eddie Alvarez, as crazy as that sounds, or being, you know, we're talking about if the field, is I think that makes for a really healthy, what do you call a really healthy environment for feeding, but not for feeding, for fighting. That's why I think we're getting a lot of exciting fights, right? Because if you look at it, a lot of the noisemakers are, whether they're a Louis Taylor or even a guy like Rick Story who thought about retirement, got drawn back in, all of a sudden he's having, you know, some good performances, right? Or these young cats kind of coming out of nowhere, the Robert Watleys that, you know, they're kind of coming into their own. And instead of getting rushed into the UFC or Contender Series, where we've seen that, not only even if you're successful, you're not maybe getting what you deserve, but you can get too tough a matchup. There's no gimmies in the UFC,
right?
You know, so you get that run in there. So I think it's creating an environment here where I think that's why we're also getting exciting fights at the end of the day. We're getting those names, and they're attracting older guy from here, younger guy from here, and it's this crazy like feeding environment. You know what I'm saying?
If I'm Marcin Tybura, if my contract's up, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Guys like that.
Perfect.
Guys
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
How did Sean Jordan not do better for himself?
Yeah,
like that, I think that's who I picked to come out of there. Him and Rochelle, they probably.
Me
said.
too. He was a lot of my favorites have gone caboose. That's why I'm like I was like I don't know who's going to come and take it the second season. I picked poorly in the first season.
Wow, this is crazy. All right, Dan in Oregon, last call, and then we'll get out of here. What's up, Dan? How you doing?
What up, man? Dude, I'm getting ready for PFL. The showcase card that they got. They got Omar Nurmagomedov on that shit, And I assume you guys aren't watching Fight Nights Global, that crazy Russian shit like I am, so let me tell you about him. This guy will throw spinning back kicks and shit like crazy. Imagine a Nurmagomedov that can actually strike. So make sure you all tune in for that. And I got some breaking news for you guys. ACB is back. ACB is headed to pay-per-view. And would each of you like to guess how much one of these pay-per-views is going to cost?
You don't want me to guess because I already know. I already know the answer, bro. So come on now. You ain't breaking news to me, player.
$9.99.
$13.99.
I'm going to go with $39.99.
You guys are wrong. Tell them the answer, Dan.
$2.50.
That's it.
Oh my God! This is
even those YouTube sensation guys charge $10 bucks.
I believe it's
and they sold 800,000.
300 rubles. Isn't that the domestic price?
Correct. So yeah, it's like $2.50 European euro or whatever, and $3 for us.
Here's
what
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how it works because in my experience, the price point really isn't the barrier. It's just paying at all. You know what I mean? Like, I think people
entering credit card information,
paying I'm just gonna be interested to see how many people do it. I mean, I like the idea, help recover some costs, I guess, of the streaming and that sort of thing. But I'm just gonna be interested to see. I feel like if you're gonna charge $250, you might as well charge $9.99. Like, I feel like there's not that big of a difference. It's just the whole process of it.
Well, I was saying KSI and Logan Paul, and I'm only familiar with these names because I heard it all over the news.
And you couldn't wait for the fight.
2 YouTube sensations, one with 19 million subscribers, and the other one with 18 million subscribers. They actually went out and supposedly the fight was good. They sold out the Manchester Arena, same one that Bisping fought Hendo in.
Crazy.
And sold 800,000 pay-per-views, which is 8 million because they charged $10. That's a good number, $9.99. I don't think it's offensive. You know what I mean? To
and
anybody.
The next ACB card is good. As Dan said, they're coming back. And my understanding is they're doing like one event per month for the rest of the year. So they scaled back. They canceled some shows, but they're doing one a month. And like you said, they're going on pay-per-view, and it's like $250 US. But the next card looks pretty good.
Hey, is that price point an omission that they're like, yeah, we know us Russians, we steal a lot of streams, so we're going to go even lower just to account for that? Because they're,
might be.
Hey, Dan, did you actually watch Logan Paul and KSI? Because you seem to watch everything.
I was there, dude.
That was a terrible fight. Don't you ever utter a word that was a decent fight again. That was terrible bullshit. And John, there's a way big difference between $250 and $10. It's four fights I can buy for $10. That shit is crazy, man.
All right, my man.
And wait, one more thing.
Go ahead.
How many papers would you get if it was $10? How many would you get for only $10? Because I think a lot of streamers would come back, man, just for that nice quality stream. Back to you guys, I'm out.
All right, see ya. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. I came across a post on the UG from like a month ago that $19.99 was something that the UFC would do, and everyone got excited. Like, it almost felt like it was fair, and that's double what WWE does. But of course, they're with ESPN now, and I don't think they're getting away from it now that Lesnar's back and Connor's back. I think maybe if they write those guys out, GSP, who knows, maybe they'll circle back to that. But in the meantime, this is good, $700 million per year. Wow. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Thank you to Ray Sefo for his time, and thank you to Eryk Anders, and we are out of here. Be champions.